All right, church, I can't lie to you. It's a little different today. Normally I'm used to having class right before this, have like a little hour or so to get mentally prepared, but I actually had a practice sermon this morning before y'all showed up. I got to practice on the old guys. So don't tell them I said that. Wait, this is live. Sorry, Hugh. I love picking on Hugh. All right, so today I'm talking about something real time, and I'm trying to hit something that's actually real hard to talk about. We'll throw this slide up and we'll kind of get a little gist of what we're going to be talking about. All right, so there's 3 movies I got up here. It may be really hard to see. It's kind of dark. But our first one on the top left is a movie called Castaway. It's a movie called Castaway. All 3 of these movies hit what we're talking about today. They have a subject matter with loneliness. Loneliness. All right, so Castaway, he was cast away on an island for 4 years, and that volleyball right there with the little hair, grass kind of stuff coming out was his best friend. The movie to the right of that is Where the Wild Things Are, based on the popular children's book. If you know that story, that is a story of a kid who is lonely and his imagination runs wild and he creates his own friends. And the bottom here, that one's really hard to tell. That's Will Smith, and that's I Am Legend. That's I Am Legend. And 3 years had gone by. A pandemic, very timely, a pandemic swept and killed everybody. And he was the last man on earth, so he thought. And he set up a town with mannequins so he could walk into a building and act normal. And he would come in and greet them like, "Hey, how y'all doing, Robinsons? Y'all doing good?" And he's in a video checkout store right now. And he's acting like he's renting blockbuster movies. He actually returns them to the store to have normalcy because he was so lonely, he needed that. All 3 of these movies hit loneliness, and today we're going to tackle it. But the one thing that we're going to struggle with, and I'm going to struggle with, is this is what we're going to take it serious. All right? I need to confess that that's hard for me. I love to get up here and entertain you a little bit. I love to get up here and make a joke. We shouldn't joke about loneliness. I shouldn't deflect. I'm guilty of some very intense devos with my kids. We would be in a devo setting, and we would be getting very deep, talking about something very serious. And I'll make a joke because it's starting to hurt me. Like it's too heavy on my heart, and I'll make a joke to lighten the mood. And everybody would laugh, and we'd all feel better. But man, I may have took away an opportunity that the Holy Spirit was about to do something really cool, and I made a joke to lighten it. So I'm going to do my best not to make a joke today. I'm going to do my best to deliver this in such a way that we can take it seriously. All right? So let's look at our next slide. All right, so this is what Jeremiah read for us. I'm going to go ahead and throw my glasses on. So this is what Jeremiah read for us. The Lord God said, "It is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper suitable for him." Now, when we're talking alone, we're not talking about alone. We're talking about lonely. Those are 2 different things. It's okay to be alone. Jesus himself was alone. Jesus himself would retreat to the mountain. Jesus himself would go off and pray by himself. Introverts, I'm not calling you out right now because you need alone time. That is okay. I want you to be the best you could possibly be, and alone time oftentimes is required. Okay? But lonely is what we're trying to tackle. Lonely is what we're trying to tackle. God said it's not good for this man to be lonely. I got to make a companion suitable for him. And so he brings forth all the animals, and none of them are good. Here it is, a dog's man's best friend. That's not good enough. A tiger wasn't good enough. But God said, "I know what I'm going to do." I don't know if you've ever felt lonely, but I would probably assume you have. At some point in your life, you have had a little bit of loneliness. And where I feel it is right here in the deep of my gut, just right here. I just feel, when I feel lonely, when I feel that anxiety of loneliness, I feel it right here. And it only makes sense that God reaches in and pulls out a rib. God reaches in and pulls out a rib of Adam. He reaches in and pulls out that loneliness and turns it into a person that's going to fill that hole back up. When you find your bride, it fills that hole. When you find your bride, it fills that hole. When you're feeling that loneliness, okay? So God is trying to fill that back up. That's what he pulled that rib out, and he's like, here it is. Suitable companion. Suitable companion, because it's not good for you to be lonely. All right, let's, the Father. I cannot tell you how to fill that hole up better than with anything other than the Father. You got to have a relationship with God. So before I can talk about our relationship with people, before I can talk about you being lonely with people, I got to talk about you feeling lonely away from God. I don't feel connected to God, Jesse. Well, that's what we got to address first. All right? So we're going to actually be looking at Luke 15, if you want to turn over there. And we're going to talk about a couple of ways that we end up feeling lonely from God. Luke 15. All right, and it says, we'll start in verse 4. If a man had 100 sheep and one of them gets lost, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others in the wilderness and go to him and search for the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he will joyfully carry it home on its shoulders. When he arrives, he will call all his friends and neighbors, saying, "Rejoice with me, because I have found my lost sheep." He will go and find the lost sheep. You know how a sheep gets lost? You have a group of sheep, and one starts eating grass here, and then he starts eating grass here, and he starts eating grass here, and he gets over here, and he becomes lost. He is no longer with the flock. He is no longer with the good shepherd. He is no longer with the Father because he has wandered his way over here. It was an accident. That sheep did not sit there and think, you know what, shepherd, you don't take good care of me. I'm going to come over here. He didn't think that. He actually had a great life over there. He got lost, so he needs the Father. He needs the shepherd to come find him, the Father to come find him. That's what he needs. All right? Same thing. Right here with the parable of the lost coin. Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Won't she light a lamp and sweep the entire house and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she will call her friends and neighbors and say, "Rejoice with me, for I have found my lost coin." In the same way, there's joy in the presence of God's angels, even when one sinner repents. This was an accident. She didn't purposely get rid of the coin. She lost the coin. The coin was lost, okay, because we want a God that is doing that right there. That woman is like under some dresser trying to find that coin with a stick, like, let me rub back here in the darkness. Let me find it. There's a powerful song that I believe it is literally singing these words. It is literally singing these words. And that song is right here. I'm going to read some of these lyrics, okay? That's your reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up. No mountain you won't climb up coming after me. If you listen to K-Love, you've heard this song a few times. I mean, it almost feels like it's on repeat sometimes on K-Love. And at Impact, we got to sing this song, not this year because we didn't have Impact, but the year before, and man, it was so good. There's no shadow you won't light up, no mountain you won't climb up coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down. It fights till I'm found. It leaves the 99. It's talking about the sheep. And I couldn't earn it. I don't deserve it. Still, you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. It's so powerful. Don't we love talking about that God? Don't we love preaching that God? I love talking about the God that's like, I'm going to drop everything and leave this 99 to come find you because you got lost and I love you and I care about you and I need you. Man, that God preaches. There are people that need to hear about that God that's coming after them because they wandered away from the flock. They just got lost. But that's not the only way that we end up getting lonely. I mean, the sheep got over here and it got lonely. That coins don't feel lonely, but we get the point. The idea is it wandered away. It was an accident. But the other one, on the other hand, the other one is more purposeful. When you tell God, God, I don't need you. I'm actually pretty good on my own. I just don't need you in my life right now. Now, most of you have probably never thought, I've never had that conversation with God. Because we probably haven't, because that conversation actually looks like, God, I got a new girlfriend, and I think I could just handle that better than you handling it. Or God, I got a raise. It's a lot of money, but I think I can handle that better than you can handle it. You get something in life and you decide that you're in charge of it. You decided that you can make a better decision than God can on it. That's actually how that conversation really looks. This is the Prodigal Son story, all right? So this is right here again in Luke 15. We're getting there. So if you want to turn to it with me, Luke 15. This is starting in, we'll start verse 12. So the younger son told his father, I want my share of the estate now before you die. So the father agreed to divide his wealth between his sons. He had two sons, decided. Now something about this story is, before we get into it, I used to think there were three characters in this story. Maybe you do too. I used to think there were three characters in this story. I used to think there was a father, there was the prodigal son, and then there was the older brother. All right? And now, when we first hear this story, most likely you identify with the prodigal son. You're like, yes, I'm coming home to God, and he has open arms. I'm coming home to God, he's open arms, and we like that. But I would say more recently in my life, I identified as the older brother. There was lots of times I'm just like, why did my friends in my teenage years get to go live differently, live wild, and then they get to come back to Christ? And I've been here the whole time. I used to feel that way, okay? So I was the older brother, but I actually found out there's two other characters you can identify with in this story, and we'll get to them, all right? But, so the younger son told his father, I want my share of the estate now, and the father agreed and split it between the two. A few days later, the younger son packed all his belongings and moved to a distant land. He moved to a distant land. Now, our sheep, he ate grass to get to the distant land. He wandered off, but the son said, I'm just leaving. I'm just leaving. Now, God, what happened to the God that climbed up every mountain and flipped over every rock to come find me? That's because it's the same God, but it's a different situation. It's a different situation. But he's waiting. He's waiting. All right? And then, so the problem is he gets over here. He gets over here and he spends all his money. And he's lonely. He had money, he had friends. And he gets lonely. And he ends up hanging out with, here's our first character that you may not realize you can identify with. The pigs. He gets to hanging out with pigs. You know, I've done some stupid stuff because of friendship. I'm not going to lie, guys. My teens, and friendship is the end-all, be-all. I can get them to any event. If they have friendship. I can get them to be a part of whatever it is if I got friendship to offer. If that's the thing they're coming for. It's the end-all, be-all. And the problem is when you don't got friends and you're stuck over here, you're just looking for friends. You may end up friends with some pigs in your life. Some people that's making some really bad choices, and you're going to do some really silly things because of friendship. Don't be a person that's going to bring another person down. I mean, he's feeding the pigs, and he's thinking, I'm thinking about eating this terrible food that they're eating. I'm thinking about eating something that is terrible because I'm that lonely. But I like this. This is what it says. It says, this is not my section. I'm like, no, this is not where I'm at. All right, turn the page. All right, here we go. I was like, whoa. All right, here we go. It says, a few days later, he packed up his bags and he went over to this faraway land, right? And then it says, when he finally came to his senses, after he's been stuck there with the pigs, it says he finally came to his senses. Something was wrong with him. Guys, loneliness leads to mental health issues. Loneliness leads to mental health issues, and that's a serious thing we need to talk about, is lonely people end up with social anxiety. Lonely people end up depressed. Well, we don't like to talk about that stuff, right? That's scary to talk about. That's depressing to talk about depression. But we don't want to talk about it. But we need to. As a church, we need to. It says, he finally came to his senses, and he realized that there was, even his servants at his father's house ate better than he did. And I'm going to go home. I'm going to go home. And what does it say that the father? It says, so he returned home to his father. And while he was still a long way off, his father saw him coming. So the father was waiting. He didn't chase him down. He didn't flip over every rock. But he is waiting. And the moment he saw him, he went running after him. He went running after him. And the son repented. He said, Father, I've sinned against you both at heaven and to you, and I'm no longer worthy of being called your son. And this part right here, guys, this is the other character in the story that I had never really thought about much. And it says, but his father said to the servants, quick, bring the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Get a ring for his finger and sandals for his feet. We must celebrate with a feast. Kill the fattened calf. The servants. This is the other character that we could identify as. Now let me ask you this. All right. So just imagine my mom says, Jessie, I want to throw you a birthday party. My birthday's about a month away. Jessie, I want to throw you a birthday party. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. What kind of cake you want? I tell her, I want some delicious lemon cake with strawberry icing, set it up, ice cream on the side. And she's like, okay, I'll pick that up for you. What gift would you like? And I tell her some gift I want, some new board game, some headphones, something. And she's like, okay, I'll make sure I have that. And I show up to my party. Imagine showing up to your party, opening the door, and it's only my mom sitting there. And she said, I got your gift and your cake. No, that's not a party. That's not a party. Guys, when people come back, the church needs to be there to celebrate with them. We are the servants. We are the servants. We are the church. We are the ones the Father's instructing to get the robe, put it on him, get the ring, put it on him, get the sandals, put it on him. Welcome these people back to the church. Do you think that people, and I'm literal right now, literal, not just people that have fallen away from church, but literal come back to the building after this pandemic. Do you think that they want to walk through that door and you to say, look what the cat drug in? Do you think that they want you to, do you think that they want to hear, well, where you been at? Didn't want to wear a mask? Do you think they want to hear that? They do not. They do not want to hear that. Instead, offer them the robe. Instead, put a ring on their finger and show them the love that the Father is telling us to give them. We are called to be the servants in the story. And I don't know how many times I've ever read this story and never thought of myself as that servant. Because we love to make the story about us. We love to be one of the main three characters, right? God's calling us to be the servants. God is calling us to be the servants. I challenge you, church, to be that servant. All right, let's take a look at our next thing. All right, so I wanted to give you something tangible, something you can go away with. Okay, Jessie, so we're reaching out to these lonely people, or I am lonely. I'm going to try to give you three things, something we can try to apply today, something when you leave here, this can start going into effect, something for you to think about. All right? But first, I got to ask you a question. First, I got to ask this. Do you care about lonely people? If you have not mulled that through your mind yet, if you've not thought about that, that's the question you need to worry about today, is do you care about lonely people? Because I can't lie, I get stuck in my world, I get stuck with my wife and my two kids, and I love what I got going. And it's hard for me to look outside that. I fill my schedule up with my life, and it's easy for me to not look outside of that. So I want you to challenge yourself first by thinking, do I care about lonely people? And I've had conversations with lots of people, and I want you to know, this is the two times people start caring about lonely, is one, they become lonely. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of lonely people. I have never had a conversation about someone not lonely wanting to reach lonely people. But I've had a lot of conversations with lonely people who wish that people would reach out to them. And the other conversation that I've had is parents who their kids are lonely. Because it matters then. I want you to know, as a father, I show up to my son's school, and I walk in to eat lunch with Leslie, and my son's outside playing on the playground, and I see him running around playing by himself. It hurts a little bit. Why doesn't anybody want to be my son's friend? I'm just jumping to conclusions. He may have tons of friends out there, but I see him playing by myself, and I think that. Okay? I think that. Because I care, because it's connected to me. All right? So we got to ask that question beforehand, but here's our list. All right, so let's do our first one. On the first side, invite. If you want to be the servant, you got to invite. You got to invite. But one thing we're going to struggle with is you're going to invite and you're going to get no. That's okay. It's okay for them to say no. That's not against you. That's not a mark against you. That's not saying that they didn't want to be your friend. But they may say no first. And we're okay with that because we know that we're going to invite again. And they may say no again. I love being invited to stuff. Dude, is anybody just like, I hate being invited to anything? Like, I like being invited to stuff. I joke with my teens all the time. They will have went to the beach the week before, and I'm like, no invite? Like, obviously I wasn't going, but it would be so cool to be invited. Just the invite means something. It means they thought about me. Think about somebody and invite them. Invite. But there's a catch with this. Let's put this next slide up. All right? So just because you invite them. All right, so one awesome thing about Eeyore is that even though he is basically clinically depressed, he still gets invited to participate in adventures and shenanigans with all of his friends. And they never, this part right here, and they never expect him to pretend to feel happy, and they just love him anyway, and they never leave him behind or ask him to change. Now, just because you got a lonely person to show up at your gathering, your thing, don't expect them to be like, I'm so happy to be here. They may not be. They may have used every ounce of energy just to get out of the house and show up, and they got none left to give at the social gathering itself. But that's okay, because we're the servants, and we love them, and we're giving them a robe and a ring and sandals. We love them, and we are happy that they're there. And just because it seems like they had a bad time, maybe while they're there, maybe they didn't seem like they enjoyed what we were doing, they still get the invite next time. They still get the invite next time. All right. So if you're the lonely, your response matters. If somebody's reaching out to you, your response matters. I get ghosted sometimes. I send a text like, hey, you want to hang out, do something? I'll get a text back the next morning. Oh, I just saw this. You ghosted me. You know, you didn't respond because you would rather just act like you didn't see it than have to tell me no because you're afraid you're disappointing me and telling me no, or you're afraid you're hurting my feelings by telling me no. And you definitely don't want to commit to it. But your response matters, even if it's just one word. But if you already do one word, I encourage you to say, oh, no, I can't tonight, but thank you so much for the invite, maybe another time. Give them a little encouragement saying, no, I'd really like to be invited again. Because it's going to make it easier for the person who's on invite. They feel like, oh, they do want to be invited. So your response matters. All right? As the servant, it is important to plan ahead. It is important to plan ahead. You can't, I want you to know, lonely people have prepared their night to be lonely. They have thought about it. They know what they're going to eat. They know what movie they might watch, what Netflix or show they're going to watch. They know what book they're going to read. They know what time they're going to go to bed. They have their night planned out and oftentimes looking forward to it. So you can't spring 5:30 on them. 5:30, hey, we're catching a movie at 6. They're probably dealing with social anxiety. It takes a lot of energy to work up, to go. I mean, like literally hype themselves up all day, and the day has to go perfect for them to want to get out. So you can't spring it on them. Try a couple of days before with a reminder text that morning. Maybe if they give you a halfway answer earlier in the week, you text them a couple more days and just say how much you'd love for you to join them. All right? We got to plan ahead with them. All right, if you're the lonely, it's love, not pity. We're the servants. We're following what God has called us to do, and that's love. It's love people, not have pity on them. We're not pitying. So, and this may be a reason why we invite them the first couple of times they say no because they think it's just pity. But the truth is, it's love. If we're trying to follow what the Father says, it's love. And we got to keep at it. We got to make sure that we show them that it's love. But guys, give us the benefit of the doubt when we reach. Know that it's not pity, that it's really love. It's coming from our heart, and we really want to hang out. All right? The servant. You got to be patient. I said invite. That can get old quick. You got to be patient, though. You got to be okay with taking the no's. You got to be okay with them turning you down. You got to be okay with them canceling at the last second, because it will happen. Something will go wrong. They will go to get in their car, and they don't have gas. And then they realize they have to stop at the gas station. Gas station means get out of the car, maybe interact with people. That means use some energy there. That means I'm probably going to be late to whatever. I'm just not coming. I'm just not coming. That could happen to them. We got to be patient. Because love is patient, guys. Love is patient. All right. And our last thing for our lonely is you are not alone in your loneliness. You are not alone in your loneliness. I try to read a bunch of statistics about it. I try to find something, and it feels like the consensus is 70% of people identify as lonely or mostly lonely. 70%. That is, this portion out of us identify as lonely. That is so large. But when I'm lonely, I feel like I'm the only lonely one. I feel like I'm the only one that feels like this. Just like any of our mental issues, anything that we're struggling with, anything that goes deeper than that, we need to be talking about. Because you'll find others deal with it. And there can be support and love. Open up to the church. Some people are really good at hiding they're lonely. Some people are really good at hiding it. They show up in my teen room, and they're smiles and happy. Anytime I talk to them, they're fine. But I don't know deep inside that they're lonely because they're good at hiding it. You don't have to hide that. 70%. And to go along with this, you're not alone in your loneliness. Maybe you can slide over and be a servant. Maybe you can slide over and be the servant. Because if you're alone and they're alone and we hang out, we're not alone anymore. Just because you're lonely doesn't mean you can't be a servant. And just because you're a servant doesn't mean you can't end up lonely. Okay? These roles switch back. I've been both. These roles switch back and forth. Church, I challenge you to be the servant. To be, when people come into your life, somebody that greets them with a robe, with a ring, with sandals, and you're ready to kill the fattened calf and celebrate with them. Okay? I want to end with reading Psalm 88. It's a very powerful psalm. I guess when I discovered this, a few years ago, I didn't even know things like this were even in the Bible, I suppose. So I'm going to read that, and then I'll say a couple things after that. All right. Psalm 88, verse 1. O Lord, God of my salvation, I cry out to you by day. I come to you at night. Now hear my prayer. Listen to my cry. For my life is full of troubles, and death draws near. I am as good as dead, like a strong man with no strength left. They have left me among the dead. I am like a corpse in a grave. I am forgotten, cut off from your care. You have thrown me into the lowest pit, into the darkest depths. Your anger weighs me down. With wave after wave, you have engulfed me. You have driven my friends away from making me. You have driven my friends away by making me repulsive to them. I am in a trap with no way to escape. My eyes are blinded by my tears. Each day I beg for your help, O Lord. I lift my hands to you for mercy. And your wonderful deeds, are your wonderful deeds any use to the dead? Do the dead rise up and praise you? Can those in the grave declare your unfailing love? Can they proclaim your faithfulness in a place of destruction? Can the darkness speak of your wonderful deeds? Can anyone in the land of forgetfulness talk about your righteousness? O Lord, I cry out to you. I will keep on pleading day by day. O Lord, why do you reject me? Why do you turn your face from me? I have been sick and close to death since my youth. I stand helpless and desperate before your terrors. Your fierce anger has overwhelmed me. Your terrors have paralyzed me. They swirl around me like flood waters all day long. They have engulfed me completely. You have taken away my companions and loved ones. Darkness is my closest friend. Darkness is my closest friend. I don't think anything more says I'm lonely than that. He's writing this to God. Talk to the Father about it. Talk to your church about it. I'm telling you, mental health is so serious, guys. Loneliness can snowball into social anxiety and depression so fast. And you think that you're not worth anything, but you are worth the blood of Jesus Christ. You have an opportunity to spend eternity with him because he loved you so much. We're about to watch a slideshow of these amazing seniors. There's just some really cool people, guys. So we'll watch that, and then we'll bring them up, and we have a senior Bible for them and a little book. And I just take this moment right now to say today we have a shower. It's kind of like a shower experience. So that's kind of new for Senior Sunday, but again, we're trying to create something that is pandemic friendly. But you can drive up, you can come in and sign the quilts, look at their tables if you'd like. I'm also going to film the tables and do a digital tour of the tables. If you'd like to watch that online later this week, I'll get that up. But if you want to come by, we got some Two Sister cookies. If you know what Two Sisters are, they only make delicious things. But there's probably only like 35 of those. I'm going to eat 7, so that leaves like 20-something for you. That's first come, first serve. And so that's 12 to 1:30. We'll be in there hanging out if you want to come through and drop off. Some gifts or something, or see the quilts or any of that kind of stuff. All right, let's watch that slideshow.